No, you just never know what the algorithm is on X, right? I mean, what was the one that was it? You posted Luke earlier today. It took off.
It was just a it was a reply. It wasn't even a
Yeah.
post, and it was yeah. That's a good place to start. So and we could talk about the Target kid, and we got to talk about the Logan's Roadhouse, Texas Roadhouse, and the Callaway Golf Club commercial. If you
Oh
guys haven't
Lord,
seen that. So
I did see the Callaway.
but back to the post. So I thought it was a satire site, but no, it was the U.S. Capitol Police, their official X site, where they had a picture of a truck that was parked, and they're like, "We've taken this into custody," and just so y'all know, and it's this dude had a full size guillotine in the back of this pickup truck in DC, and then the U.S. Capitol Police decided, well, for whatever reason, we're going to confiscate that, and it's in their custody now. And when I saw it was real, I just started laughing, and all I replied to the U.S. Capitol Police was, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this is America." And it blew up. And people did not like that because that goes beyond Second Amendment. Okay, because a guillotine, is it a weapon? Is it arms? I don't know.
Well, the issue with the guillotine. Sorry, good.
People, real quick, people hated it, and they were commenting, and that their original post got 2.6 thousand likes. Okay. And then I think, as far as I know, for the first time, we ratioed or frog of shamed that post, because last I looked, we have 2,800 likes on just that one reply. So I took that screenshot and I'm like, oh, wow, C3X account is finally getting some traction. And so I took a screenshot, made a post. I was like, we finally ratioed the federal government. It's got 2 likes.
Well, and the guillotine thing, and so I had to Google it when I was looking earlier when we were talking about it, asking like, is it illegal or what's the deal? And the only reason was the guy parked the car like literally across the street from the Capitol building, and it was illegally parked. So they got the, like you can't bring a knife into, a federal building or whatever. So the charge is, dangerous weapon, on federal grounds or whatever. So then I had to Google, I was like, well, can I have a guillotine in Arizona? And it was actually, there's specific clause, like you can absolutely have guillotines in Arizona. Arizona doesn't consider a guillotine as a dangerous weapon and considers it to be a prop or a movie thing or whatever. So I might have to build a guillotine.
How is it? Okay. A guillotine's got a long blade on it. We know that. Heavy, long blade that you got to pull up with rope, but then you've got to put somebody's head in there. You've got to have a few people to operate a guillotine, right? And you've got to have more than a few to grab somebody and put their head inside of it. So I can see how politicians, as we saw on, January 7th, might be very afraid of a guillotine.
Yeah, but dangerous weapon. My guess would be like if that guy has any money to get a decent lawyer. It's like you're saying. It's like, okay, guillotine. How much does a guillotine weigh? The damn thing's got to weigh like 500 pounds.
It's a prop. That's all it is. It was probably a prop for some school play, or they were going to do some.
It's probably one of our listeners, man, that works at one of the works in the theater business. He's hauling it.
Probably
it's back and forth.
It's probably Ryan.
But part of the issue, and I'll tell you, with the social media post itself from the Capitol Police is, and I understand why they do it. They hire these youngins because they're more, quote unquote, in touch with social media and this and that. Dude, it's like all these posts that we see from politicians and that we know it's coming from their aides. Like, you need somebody like us in there. Somebody's got some common sense. Like, hey, maybe we shouldn't post this, but apparently that's gone, because even when you go to, the Target Halloween costume, you talk about the Callaway stuff, again, I didn't like the Callaway commercial. I didn't see a big deal with that at all. But, it's like when you look at the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light thing, like nobody, and we've said this before, nobody in that chain was like, hey, I don't think this is a very good idea. It's like there was a lack of common sense because they're hiring these 25-year-olds, that have zero experience anywhere and no perspective to make these decisions.
Though the Callaway thing, You saw that one, right, Josh? I bet y'all just saw a clip of it, right? You saw the clip
Yeah.
where he pushes her. That's not the whole
Yeah.
commercial. The whole commercial
Yeah.
is the driver will possess you, and you will become possessed with like the golf demons or whatever. And he's like freaking out on everybody. But that's the clip they showed. And yeah, is it? I don't think it's a particularly good commercial, but now it's being canceled along with Texas Roadhouse and Logan's Roadhouse. You heard about that, Josh, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that. It makes me want to eat there more.
Well, tell everybody what's going on, because not most people aren't as online as we are.
So, it's what, Thursday, it's Wednesday, it's Thursday, it's or it's Wednesday, right? We got to be angry and upset about something. So long story short, Texas Roadhouse upset the people of color, the teens, and didn't bend the knee. And so basically, long story short, is everybody with a lot of melanin said they weren't going to eat there anymore, and everybody's like, okay, cool.
Over a fake post on Reddit.
Yeah.
Because somebody said, oh, just so you know, all you black people, that white staff at Texas Roadhouse and Logan's, there's a coordinated effort to, if there are black customers, they're going to spit in your food, basically. And it's like, ever since the thing in Frisco with Carmelo Anthony, and then it just blew up from there. And it's like,
yeah, and it's like every and it's like every reporter, right now, it's a source, confirmed this. A source said this. Like, you just made some shit up. That's what you did. You just made some shit up.
Hey, newsflash. They were already spitting in your food anyway, and they've been doing it for decades.
Right.
Yeah. You're rolling the dice when you go to a restaurant. You really, really are.
Yeah.
And you got to try your best not to think about it. You think of like visceral reactions to movies. I think of a Casino when the cops come in to get the sandwich,
yeah.
And he spits on it, folds it up, wraps it up, gives it right to him. And it's like, hey, dude, you just never know.
Yeah. It's very true.
Remember like years ago at the Burger King on Fort Meade? I don't know if you were there yet or not, Luke. Were you there when they closed down the Burger King?
Maybe.
They had pulled out the soda machine, and there were, oh, dude, there were like pounds of maggots, like where the syrup was dropping and stuff in the back, and it was leaking. Dude, pounds of it. I mean, it's like, it had to be thousands of them. I think there were pictures on social media or something that one of the employees took.
Yeah.
So they ended up closing down for like months, man.
Yeah. I remember didn't the post commander demand the pictures come off of social media? Because they put them on the official accounts. He demanded they come off. It was like, he was like, no, I own it.
That's back when they were given AAMs for, social media justice warriors or whatever.
Right. I went to BNOC with her.
Oh, Lord.
That first art, she was a SIGINT, whatever, I forget which SIGINT MOS she was, but yeah, I went to BNOC with her. To your point though, about us running the accounts for senators and the congressmen, it would be so much better, right? Because there's so many people out there, and there's other people too, I would say, just in general. I hate the level of stupidity. Just the level of stupidity. They are 240 characters deep, and that's it, right? So you guys have seen the War College dust up that's going around, and it's been going around this has been happening for a little while, and so so I commented today on Tom Nichols, Radio Free Tom. Yeah. So this guy is a former professor at the U.S. Army War College, right, at Carlisle Barracks. And now he writes for The Atlantic. So that just goes just right there. That will tell you which way he skews politically. All right. So this guy has been an elitist on this platform for a very long time, right? A very long time. And he's always, he's always been, well, you don't understand war. You don't understand war strategy and this, that, and the other. Well, the kicker is this guy's never worn a uniform. This guy's never been to war. So, there's some accounts that are, starting to really push back on him. And so I made the comment today, and he made the comment about, well, you don't know about CS. He was talking to somebody else. He was like, you don't know about War College because you've never been. And so I commented, and I was like, well, by your own logic, that means you don't know anything about war because you've never been. Right. And I use the GIF, you played yourself. And that brought the haters out, man. That brought the haters out. And one of the things that people would, constantly threw up, they're like, Eisenhower. It was, okay, well, what about Eisenhower? Like he was the greatest general, of the 20th century. And I'm like, at building coalitions, yeah, Eisenhower knew how to build a coalition. But if you had any understanding at all about Eisenhower's tactical or the operational level, Eisenhower's ineptness almost cost us the entire North Africa campaign. Right? He is the one that basically he single-handedly caused the loss at Kasserine Pass. He didn't plan for logistics in North Africa, which allowed the Germans to reinforce. And the only effing reason that we won eventually in North Africa was because, one, the Brits, and two, the German logistics. We finally cut that off, coming across the Med. But other than that, but everyone's like, Eisenhower's like, dude, you don't even know the full story on Eisenhower. And then I had somebody else be like, Eisenhower never worked for MacArthur. I'm like, he worked for him in the Philippines. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just this.
But MacArthur never went to a war college either, I don't think. Did he? He might have.
War college wasn't around then.
Yeah, it was. MacArthur, war college has been around since 1904.
Was it around 1904? Because
I had to look it up today. I went down the rabbit hole on this too. I didn't know that before today.
I don't know if MacArthur went. He was the commandant of West Point for a while, but that was well after World War One.
Okay. So I asked because that one dude said most generals in World War I and World War II went to the War College, and that's debatable. It might have been half because Marshall did not.
I would say half. Yeah.
Marshall did not go. MacArthur did not go. Eisenhower did. Bradley did, and Arnold did. Army Industrial. No, he did not. War College.
MacArthur did not go.
He did not.
Okay.
Well,
I was going to say I didn't think MacArthur. I didn't think. I knew he was a commandant of West Point at one point, but I didn't think he went to War College. He went to War College in the Pacific. During the Pacific campaign. But my point being, it's like people want to throw these generals' names out there and be like, "Well, that's the greatest general ever," and it's like you don't know what you're talking about. But you don't know what you're talking about. Everybody wants to throw Eisenhower out there because old Ike. Greatest generation, blah, 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 blah. It's like you have no idea what you're talking about. Like he was a terrible tactician. Well,
it's interesting you say because we watched the movie. It had Brendan Fraser in it. It was about the weatherman for D-Day. I can't remember the name of the movie.
I know the one you're talking about.
Wasn't terribly great movie. I wish I could remember the name, but they really didn't paint Eisenhower in this great light. And I was like, huh. So I went down the rabbit hole on that. And there was a reason that Montgomery and Churchill, it's not that they didn't like Eisenhower, maybe not so much with Montgomery, but they did not like the fact that he was a supreme Allied commander. They didn't. And because they both had experience and Eisenhower did not. And I think somebody posted on your thread, and they were absolutely right. It was either your thread or somebody else's where it's like, Churchill held it up because Eisenhower wanted to go into Europe immediately. And Churchill
Yeah.
held that up, and he's like, no. Pressure was the name of the movie. Thanks, Josh. And I didn't know that because, it's all, we have a right to be very proud and defend America against Canada and all this stuff. But at some point, you got to be honest and be like, was Eisenhower really that great? Now, give him the credit where credit's due, but yeah, he's not as great as it was made out to me for years and years and years.
Yeah. And what the craziest thing is, Ike actually worked for Patton at one point. Very brief, but he worked for Patton. And the whole thing, and again, I'm not, not trying to take away from Eisenhower. The guy built a coalition. He knew how to build a coalition. The guy, I think he was a very good statesman. He was just not a great general, right? And during that time frame, general moving armies, generals are planning, helping plan operations, they're directing operations. Dude, Market Garden? Are you kidding me? How about the Hurtgen Forest? Any general who looked at that, and even Patton looked at that, and Patton was like, this is idiocy. You're going to drive an armored division into a forest? Hey, man, tanks and armor generally have a hard time maneuvering inside the trees. Yeah, in forested areas. Just, it's physics. So, anyway.
Well, and a lot of that stuff too came down to politics. I think it's that one book I was telling you read a couple years ago, Josh. I think it's called American Generals or whatever, and it covers like 15 or 20 of them. And MacArthur's big problem was that he rubbed the wrong people, right, or the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, and people were looking at. You can do that, by the way, too. You can rub the wrong people. That doesn't work out
the wrong way.
Does it? Al Franken. Oh yeah, right. Anyway, you look at MacArthur. I mean, people were worried about. One, him and Truman didn't get along. And I mean, I get it. If you start calling out the commander in chief, you're probably not, your career is not going to go very far, but they were also worried about his presidential aspirations. Hey, he's pretty damn successful, man. He continues on. I mean, this dude's going to run for president and win, right? You look at Eisenhower. So that, even back then, a lot of the politics, got involved. And unfortunately, the way it is with our political system is, and that's why it's really hard. I think resignations are not used enough, right? And I think you look at it with Abbey Gate. I mean, coming up on that anniversary or just past the anniversary, it's because at the end of the day, you work for the president, especially as a senior leader and anybody in the military, you're carrying out those orders and you're carrying out that strategic vision, that objective, those goals or whatever. You may not necessarily agree with it. But when you're at that level, there is hey, look, we talked about this thing, the Afghanistan withdrawal still pisses me off because anybody who'd ever been over there for 15 minutes knew how fast that was going to happen as far as the Taliban overrunning the country, and for all of these, General Austin, all these people, oh, we didn't see this coming, or Milley and all those folks. We didn't see this. Well, you know what? You're blind then. You're the only ones who didn't see it coming. And instead of just going along with it when it's coming down to, American lives, resign the position. We're not saying get out of the army. Resign the position because one, no president wants that, and especially the publicity that you're going to get, and with the politics involved of it. At least it will stir serious discussions. Like, hey, look, I get it. Everybody wants to get out of Afghanistan. This is not the way to do it. And then the way that, Biden goes on to play, well, this was, a deal negotiated by Trump. Well, you're the president right now. You can change that stuff. And to me, it's imperative of those senior military leaders. Like, hey, now the other thing that could have happened is they could have, informed him of the risks. And he said, I don't care. I'm willing to accept those risks. And we go forward. And that's where that resignation comes in. Right. I don't think, you look at Abbey Gate specifically, and I know I'm, armchair quarterbacking it, but I don't know I could actually sit there and stay in that position knowing that's what they were going to do. There's just no way. Like, hey, that's great, sir. Respect your decision. If that's the route you're going to go, then you probably need to pick a new, Joint Chief of Staff.
See, I think that, well, whatever. We'll get into Abbey Gate. Let's go back to War College and then bring it in, because it'll bring it back to the Afghanistan withdrawal. Because we're talking about Eisenhower, we're talking about all these generals, but we're basically talking about leadership who went to the War College in the mid 90s, and, after the first Gulf War. Desert Storm, Desert Shield, all that stuff. So Josh has spent more time arguing about this today than I have online, shouting into the void. And CGSC, the way I understand CGSC is that's actually a pretty good school. It like really teaches you, the ins and outs of staff, and staff work and, how things go. And, it's got to go up to here, down to there. But what goes wrong in the education process? And because we've got a lot of non-military listeners, believe it or not, in the education process and hand in hand with the promotion process, I'm going to say from 05 to 02 or 3, because we all know to make 04, it's basically impossible. So kick it to Josh and say, what is so dysfunctional about the officer corps at the 01 to 04 level? Because I was telling my daughter the other night, the best commander I ever had, battalion commander, was an 05 with a GOMAR, a general officer memorandum. What is general officer memorandum of record? Is that what it is, Roger? You've had a GOMAR of reprimand. Yeah. So
It's the bad
But
one.
it goes in your record.
Yeah. So that's the reason that Jim Price was never going to make 06, but he's the best commander I ever had. So Josh, take it away. What's wrong with the officer corps at the very flag officer level, and how would you possibly fix it at this point?
You kind of mentioned it earlier. Roger started it with the resonate is really the accountability. And this didn't happen this just didn't start in the 90s. This has been going on for a while. At some point, I want to say it's probably after World War II, once the Army started downsizing and those GO positions started going, some of those GO positions started going away because obviously, it's a pyramid, right? As you get, further up the top, there's less, positions. And for officers, Congress authorizes the number of officers that, the military can have, and, this, that, and the other. And so it starts to quickly become a good old boys club. And it quickly became, well, if I want these politicians to nominate me, if I want them to like me, right? Because you have to be, to get a star, guess who has to confirm it? Congress. Congress has to approve that. Well, who do I need to make happy? I need to make politicians happy. How do I make politicians happy? I blow with the wind, right? Whichever way the wind's blowing, that's the way I'm going. And that's not what we need of our military leadership. That's absolutely not what we need of our military leadership. Our military leadership needs to be the person in the room that stands up. They have to be the adult in the room. They have to stand up and say, this is the wrong answer. This is not the way to do this. You're going to get people killed or what have you. They have to be the honest broker. And we got away from that because when, you're testifying in front of Congress and, you can't sit up there. You should, but you can't sit up there and, say you voted for this bill. You voted against this bill. This hamstrung the military. This hampered me from being able to do my job. You can't do that. You're gonna get fired the second you walk out of that room, man. As soon as you leave the Senate chamber, you're done, right? You're not gonna go talk to the Hipsy and the Hasky and everything, and talk like that. But we've the fight. They want to be part of it. I call it, the Foggy Bottom Boys Club, which made me think of the other day. Side note, when they were like, name a band but make it political instead of the Soggy Bottom Boys. I should have tweeted the Foggy Bottom Boys. Damn it, missed opportunity.
Nobody would have got it there. But anyway,
no. And so, but you have this, this Foggy Bottom crowd that, again, they're sitting up there with their credentials, right? And credentialism, and talked about this today too, using it as a cudgel, and acting like everyone's betters. We used to have guys like that in the military. You used to have guys like Hal Moore, right? And and Hal Moore made it into the GO ranks. But how far did Hal Moore make it into GO ranks? Hal Moore wasn't chief of staff. You notice that? Hal Moore, during that time, they were like, we can't run this dude out on a rail. This guy is an actual war hero. Like, this guy is an actual, no kidding, combat leader. Tested and proven. We can't do that. Are you guys familiar with David Hackworth? Dude, David Hackworth, one of the most decorated soldiers from Korea and Vietnam. Guy lied about his age when he was 14 years old to join the Merchant Marines during World War II. At 14 years old. Now we have 14-year-olds that don't know which bathroom to use. Yeah, that's a whole different podcast. But they ran guys like David Hackworth out of the Army because he was telling them, you're wrong. You're not doing this right. He was one of Westmoreland's biggest critics there in Vietnam. And then he started becoming very vocal about it, kind of like, infantry door on X. He started becoming very vocal about the issues within the U.S. Army training system and how we were training for combat, what we were training, X, Y, and Z. And they ran him out of their Army for it. They ran him straight out of the Army for it. And he never made it past, past 06. And the only reason the only reason he made 06 because he had multiple silver stars, a distinguished service cross, and like 7 or 8 Purple Hearts. Right. And it's like, okay, like this dude's got to be, he's got to be an 06 at least as an officer. But anyway, we don't do that anymore. We don't allow military leaders to be military leaders. Right. And I got chastised when I was a warrant officer candidate at school. One of the first classes that we had, one of the instructors comes in, and he's a former warrant officer and a former TAC officer who thinks he's still a TAC officer. It's so ridiculous. He came in and he was like, what is the mission of the United States Army? And nobody, it's the first day. Nobody wants to say anything. So I was like, I'll say it. I raised my hand and he's like, what is it? Candidate. And it's like, it's to kill people and break their toys. That's the mission of the United States military. When you boil it all down, you can come out and, say whatever you want, but it's to kill people and break their toys. When diplomacy fails, we kill people and break their toys. And I got chastised. Like, that's very unprofessional. That's a very unprofessional answer. I was just like, okay. And I didn't say anything else, but, but that's what it is. And war is simple. You either impose your will on the other guy or he will impose his will on you. That's it. And we have to get people back in leadership positions at the general officer level that understand that and that are willing to stand up to politicians and elected officials and tell them no. And tell them we're not doing it. And like you said, okay, I'm not doing that. Here's my resignation. Go find somebody else that'll do it because I'm not going to have that on my conscience. That's it.
Speaking of generals, there's a really funny Venn diagram I just saw. Venn with 2 circles and they overlap in the middle, right? One of the circles is General Custer. The other circle is tech CEOs, and in the middle, it's really not that many Indians. Trust me. So, okay. Did you guys watch the G.I. Joe cartoon? Right, it's good. Did you guys watch the G.I. Joe cartoon back in the day?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. You remember the series where they created Serpentor and he was going to supplant Cobra Commander? Do you remember how they did it? Do you remember how they created it?
No.
This is years before Jurassic Park, but I think the book Jurassic Park was already out. So it was a big deal because Cobra had to go all around the world and they had to like dig into the tomb of Genghis Khan and Pharaoh and Napoleon Bonaparte and extract their DNA. And when they extracted all of these great, military leader DNA, they combined it all and they made Serpentor, who was, because Cobra Commander wasn't getting the job done. So they wanted a new leader. Destro wanted a new leader. So that got me thinking while Josh was on his rant. If you can do a Cobra, a Cobra style, extract the DNA and personalities of U.S. generals since we'll say since the Civil War, because I just don't know if George Washington would be on that list. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, he lost, that dude lost a lot of battles. No, I'm joking. But anyway, which general officers, not colonels, not, guys who had a lot of promise, but general officers, would you combine into one, say all the best qualities, with some of the bad ones in there? But I'll challenge you, because this might be tough. You gotta inject one civilian in there who could be like on the cabinet, because the military is under civilian leadership after all, really is. I mean, it's accountable to civilian leadership. So I just, rattled off some, didn't think about it too much, but these are the ones I put: MacArthur, Patton, LeMay, General Cavoli, believe it or not, Robert E. Lee. And would either of you guys put Odierno or Schwarzkopf on that list?
Schwarzkopf is absolutely on my list.
Okay, then Schwarzkopf, because it would be between Odierno and Schwarzkopf. And the reason I put Odierno on there and Schwarzkopf is because both of them, I always heard, and I've read Schwarzkopf's book and I liked it. I always heard that, well, that's a soldier's general. Like, they cared, but not too much, So and the civilian, I don't think I said the civilian, Eric Prince. 100%. Now, I know he's never filled a cabinet position, but he could. I think I should get away with that. So I know I put you guys on the spot. It's tough. It's like there's been a lot of generals over the year.
So I'll jump in. Looks like Roger was still kind of thinking there. All right. So as far as generals, Grant.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Grant is on mine. Going to obviously Patton is 100% on mine. I can't remember if he made general or not, but Chesty Puller is on mine. LeMay, Schwarzkopf is on there. Let's see. And yeah, man, that's for right now. That's what I got.
Probably Marshall.
Marshall. For my cabinet guy, I would have to go. I like the Eric Prince one, but I'm going to go Bob Gates. I thought Bob Gates was a very, very good sector.
No, I agree with that. I don't think I'd have anything to add to that. I do have a question when we start talking about the War College. And I think it'll never happen for reasons that we've already talked about, that, why generals don't speak up now. But why is there no War College equivalent for the NCOs?
Would that be well, Sergeant Major's Academy, but that doesn't, that's
not equivalent to.
It's not equivalent, but you're talking about like a Sergeant Major's Academy for like E7s. Right, or something akin to that. Because
I'd probably say E8, E9, because what they look at, like even at the Sergeant Major's Academy, it's really tactical level leadership, training, and operational execution. That's what they teach us, right?
So they don't teach y'all staff and shit like that there.
You'll like the staff that I have, that's organic to me to use and reach out to or whatever. But again, that's from a organizational leadership perspective, not a national security strategic objective. That we don't get into at all. And that's not taught at any of the NCO schools, and I think, part of that is they're stuck with old school where, we can't read and we don't write so well because we enlisted. But I think we
don't even know what the library is.
We don't know where the library is. Still ain't found that damn thing. And the other piece of that is, I mean, and, I know I'm biased, obviously, but the other piece of that is, once you hit E80 or 9, there's not a whole lot you're going to do to that guy or gal. I mean, general officers, you can force them to resign and push them around. What it's like, hey man, E9, whether I'm the SEA or battalion sergeant major, guess what? I get paid the same amount of money. But I say that because when you talk about what Josh was bringing up with giving the hard answers or the hard assessments, that's your individual. That's like, hey sir, here's what's going on. here's the repercussions of this. Are you willing to take that risk? And maybe that general officer does that, but it's like, to me, you're a leadership team. Why would you not want the people around you just as educated or just as experienced as you are? One, the senior enlisted is going to be probably more experienced. But it's like, hey man, I want minds around me that are just as educated and just as experienced so we can have this conversation. Maybe there is a better way forward. There's a better path forward. And ultimately, commander in chief is going to make that decision, or the senior level officers are going to make that decision whether they're going to assess that risk or not. But at least we have that conversation and dialogue. And that doesn't, for me, it's the, and I never served at a brigade level or higher. But it's like, man, and I guess I really never served at a true battalion level just because of the kind of units that we served in or whatever. But, that kind of goes away at that battalion level. I mean, even with the units that we were in working alongside the battalion level, that sergeant major really stepped out out of that overall mission planning from the battalion commander. And that's and especially in our field, that's the wrong answer. Because I tell you this, doing what we did there, not to say that I was great or nothing. I mean, I had a lot of shortfalls, but I'd been in that field doing that job longer than anybody else had been, at all levels. So it's like, hey, point being is I would want that input and I would want to have that conversation. And it's like, well, no, you're not a ring knocker. So, you can't come in the room. We can't talk about strategy.
Well, I think with the NCO piece of it, it's like, I hear everything you're saying, but from the senior decision maker standpoint, as far as writing policy and changing things, they're going to be like, we don't need it. And the reason they'll say they don't need it is because it functions pretty well right now. It's always done its job because, in my opinion, NCOs are a little bit more innovative than officers. I really believe that. I've seen it otherwise, but it's the exception, not the rule. And back to the war college stuff, done a little research into it, and they study a lot of historical maneuver type stuff there. And they do case studies into, this particular campaign or that particular campaign. Tom Nichols listed this. He's probably like, the hair on the back of his neck is probably standing up right now because like there's 3 uneducated, unwashed people talking about this out there somewhere right now. Who, highest rank between the 3 of them was E9, but they don't, from what I've seen, they teach very little innovation at the innovative type thinking at the War College and at CGSC. And it's why I wrote to Josh. I was like, the War College is the reason we fight the current war like the last one, because there aren't enough innovative thinkers out there. There's not in the officer corps. There's a few, but not many. And at the end of the day, they do have to answer, like Josh was saying, they do have to think about that political, type thing. And that's what went wrong in Vietnam is, well, not that, but what went wrong in Vietnam was the civilians stepped in way too much. And the generals just kind of stepped to the side and let, the SecDef run the war and his whole cabinet, because he was a smart guy. You say a lot of things about him, but McNamara was very intelligent, put it to you that way. It's just his application of it. Like, he did not listen to his generals, not any type of innovative, hey sir, this isn't working and here's why. He's like, no, we just need to improve the ratio. That's all we need to do. And you need to strike a fine balance between the general officers who are innovative. You don't want to go as far as MacArthur, right? Where people were afraid he was going to pull a Julius Caesar and come back to the U.S. and march on D.C. Like, there were real talks about that. But anyway, you need a good balance between a strong SecDef who is willing to listen to his senior generals, and senior leadership.
Part of the other problem, or another part of this problem that we have, is the promotion system is not designed to be innovative. It's not designed to be innovative, and it's 100% designed for you to be risk averse. We do not encourage officers to go out and take risk, because these days, one bad OER, not even a bad OER, just a mediocre middle of the road OER, that'll mean the difference of whether you ever see lieutenant colonel or not.
Center mass.
It's, and you can't do that. You cannot do that, especially at the younger officer, at the company grade officer ranks. You've got to empower them to go out there, push the limits, make mistakes. Right? That's fine. I expect you to make mistakes. You're a 23-year-old lieutenant straight out of college. I expect you to make mistakes. I want you to make mistakes because I'd rather you learn them when you're in charge of, let's say, a platoon, right? Because I don't want you making mistakes when you're in charge of a battalion or a brigade, or, you get on up into, division, corps, army. Like, I don't want you making mistakes there, because, at that point, it becomes even more catastrophic. But the promotion system is not congruent to officers being innovative, to officers, accepting risk. And it just, the whole system needs to be, honestly, the whole system needs to be burnt to the ground and redone. But it's like everything else with, the government. It won't be, because it's such a, the military, especially the Army, is such a monolith for change, that to force change, it requires somebody to lose their life. That's really what it requires. As far as like these little tweaks here and there, I mean, they could barely change the retirement system. I mean, that damn near, dude, that alone took years and years and years. We can't even change the PT test without a whole bunch of controversy and years and years and years. You're not going to change the culture. And I think that's why people like us gravitated to the organizations that we did, because we were given a lot of latitude. You think about what we were given. There's nowhere else. There is nowhere else out in that big green machine, especially when, you pull us out of that community. There's nowhere else where they're going to look at and be like, hey, Staff Sergeant, I want you to get a group of about 20 people. You've never met them before. A bunch of them are going to be junior enlisted. I want you guys to go to San Diego. All right. And you're going to train them. Here's about $200K for your budget. All right. You're planning all right. Go. Call us if you need anything. That's not happening out in the big green machine. You're not giving us staff sergeant. Are you crazy? Like, but the latitude that we were given, and I think that's why we gravitated to, to places like that, because it was like, man, I'm willing to push the envelope. I'm willing to take risk. And I need to be in an environment that lets me do that. I'm also in an environment that, probably lets me make some dumb decisions, here and there. But
it was truly amazing, Josh. It's truly amazing how much trust they put in us, because there was one point, it's the biggest case of imposter syndrome gone too far. And I believe that the imposter syndrome, where we all feel like, dude, I have bullshitted my way all the way here, and eventually I'm going to be found out. I believe that is deep within the human psyche. And I think that's the reason so many people have dreams where they go all the way to work or all the way to school or whatever it is, and they don't have the pants on.
They're naked.
They're really points and laughs. That's imposter syndrome. And I'm sitting in a talk or a jock or whatever we called it in outside of Mosul, and we're running an op. It was my op, and there's all these platforms assigned to it, and it's not super complex, but kind of complex. We're gonna hit the target that night, and we're waiting. It's about 1 a.m. It's getting closer, and the squadron sergeant major looks over at me, or he kind of leans over and he goes, "Hey, you realize this is a $60 million operation right now?" And I look at him and he outlines, he's like, because that platform costs this, that platform costs that one and this one and that one. And I was like, oh shit. And it was just like, I looked down to see if I had my pants on, because I was like, this has got to be a dream, because I can't believe they trust me with this bullshit. I just couldn't believe it. But it's exactly your point to what you said. Yeah, that struck a chord with me.
It always goes back to, a good analogy is, from what Josh was saying, it's our uniforms. We wear uniforms from the last war. It's just the way it is. We're always fighting the last war, and it takes us a while to catch up. And, I was just thinking about this as an information campaign and this. And I mean, man, imagine if you were, you're coming to some conflict with China or Russia or whatever, and you start changing your uniforms across the military to match that environment, like you're going to invade. I mean, that's some psychological operations going on there. But that's a good analogy. And
Yeah.
I've always heard, I forget who said this, but in the military, you're promoted to your own level of incompetence, right?
Yeah.
You're an E5, you do a great job. You get promoted to E6, right? You're an E6, and you can do the same thing with O ranks, O3, O4, O5. You're promoted next level, promoted next level. You're promoted to the next level and you suck. Do they move you back down one? Nope. We just leave you there and let you continue to lead. And that's just the way the system is set up. And, as a whole, there's so many different avenues with this, because even with, you talk about like OERs and NCOERs and ratings or whatever. Yeah, it's not designed to let you take chances. And I'm not talking about taking chances with human lives and this and that, but when you're younger, you need to make some errors. I'm more concerned that, hey, their heads on straight. There's some common sense. They're motivated. Okay, they show some leadership qualities. Hey, man, not everybody's going to get everything right. But now, and especially with the NCR ratings back in the day, with my day, it's like, hey, man, you didn't come away with 4 or 5 excellence. You weren't going to make it, and it's like, oh, you only had 3 excellence. What'd you do wrong? Well, I didn't do anything wrong. Satisfactory means I did my job, pretty well. But you can't have it that way. It's got to be all 5. So then everything is fluff. So everybody comes out looking like they're patent when that's not the case, and you by talking to anybody for 10 minutes, man, you're like, oh man, it's a pretty squared away soldier for the most part. Or no, this gal probably sucks. How'd they get to where they're, where they're at? And that's just the way the system is. And unfortunately, it's become so political. Well, I shouldn't say it's always been that way. We talked about MacArthur. It's just, hey man, civilian control starts to interfere with strategy. And I'm not talking about overall national security strategy, but strategy and objectives of the military. And it pulls people in the wrong direction. When you look at the leadership that we talk about during the GWAT, I mean, the other thing you got to look at is this: 12 of 16 years, we had a Democrat president. Okay. And that could have been a Republican president. My point to that is going back to what Josh was saying with who appoints these folks, at the general level, who approves them. Hey man, when you've got 12 of 16 years with one party in, that's the ideology that has permeated the senior level leadership, because now you're a young captain or, a major or senior major, and you've got eyes on that star. The people that are going to rise and get promoted are the ones that are reflecting the ideas of the current admin. And normally when you go 4 or 8 years, that's one thing. You go 12 of 16 years, that's the difference between climate and weather. Now we have a climate change that we have to change or work on. And that's, look at it now with Hegseth and Donald Trump and the USS Lincoln. I mean, look at all the stuff on X. What do you mean they're looking for trash on the deck of the aircraft carrier? Right? I mean, people are outraged. What do you mean they have to eat MREs? What? It's like, well, dude, it's the military. You know what? The next thing you know, they're going to be pulling guard at 5 o'clock in the morning. What?
You said something interesting.
That's where we've come.
The 12 of those years. Yeah, it's the policies, everything that set off a light bulb in my head about you're also the leadership, and the operational leadership is taking on the risk tolerance level of the current administration. Think about that. Like, because the risk tolerance for those 12 years was extremely low. And the 3 of us were very fortunate for a lot of the time during the GWAT, at least for me, is that we kind of were in a different category than your big green machine down on the ground. And, so the risk tolerance was really low, which bleeds right into the ROE, the rules of engagement, all that stuff, can I change the subject? You guys mind?
I got one last thing.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I want to add a couple people to my list. So I said Puller. I want to add Winfield Scott. Right, Mexico City campaign. That thing is still talked about today. I want to add Nimitz, obviously not a general, but an admiral, and Ridgway. Ridgway, what he did with 8th Army in Korea was nothing short of amazing. I mean, 8th Army was getting routed by the Chinese and the Koreans. Yeah, dude, he turned that around and finally, fought the Chi-Coms to a draw. What he did in Korea was nothing short of magnificent. So I just wanted to add Ridgeway to that, and
If you could,
Nimitz to that list.
the listeners can ever find a graphic where they speeded up the Korean War, and there's the red is the North and the blue is the South, and they speed it up of the months and the years. I mean, when the Red Army came through, they pushed them all the way down to nearly the tip of the peninsula, and that was Ridgeway, who pushed them all the way back north of Pyongyang. I mean, it was amazing. And it's like, how did that happen? Like, the U.S. must have reinforced with 4 million troops. No.
Yeah.
But that is amazing. That's a good call.
Yeah. And then MacArthur said the Chinese were going to be a problem, in the years to come, and everybody told him to shut up. And MacArthur said, and MacArthur, right. And MacArthur said, don't give Taiwan back to China, and everybody told him to shut up. And but Mac was a problem, right? He was a problem. Whatever.
7 days ago, today's the 26th. Yes, 7 days ago, on April 19th, Tim Curry, actor, made his final X post, and his April 19th was Tim Curry's birthday. What Tim Curry said in his final post was 80, period, LMFAO. LMFAO. That's all he put. I mean, Tim Curry, movie star, and I knew who he was. But when I look through his, Josh is more familiar with him than me. But when I look through his IMDb, and the movies he's been in, it was like he was the political officer on the
Red October. Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, that guy. And you look through, it's like, oh man, he's been in some good stuff. Home Alone 2, all of this stuff, man. I mean, he was a really good actor. And it's, what a great thing that he posted that. He's like, I'm 80. This is hilarious because he probably lived the kind of life where he's like, I'm never going to see 80. The kind of life I live now. and it's kind of sad he's gone, and we'll leave the big one for later. But I think that's hilarious. Not hilarious, but it's like so cool. Like, I hope my last X post is something that epic where somebody looks back at it. It's like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Last post, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. He was good, man. Yeah, he was a political officer in Hunt for Red October. Obviously, Rocky Horror Picture Show. He was the butler in what was it, Clue? And he had a bunch of other, like you said, Home Alone 2. He had a bunch of other cameos and just kind of roles that I always thought I thought he was somewhat of an underrated actor. I don't think he was super, super, super amazing. But I always thought the dude was a good actor, and he was always kind of underrated.
Well, he won a Grammy, he won an Emmy, and he won a Tony Award. And those are the three big ones. Like, those are three big awards, man. Those are three big awards. Tales from the Crypt, he was in.
Yeah.
No, wait, he was nominated for that one. I'm sorry. He was nominated. He did not win that Primetime Emmy.
I know it's off topic, but I'm just sitting here. Like, I guess there's a new ruling out of a district court in Tennessee now, ruling fifth-year NCAA players ineligible. Dude, what is going on with this stuff? Yeah, it's like every other day they judge shop. You're eligible? No, you're not. You're eligible? No, you're not. And then now they're talking about NFL players going back to college. And it looks like the SEC actually, as a conference, just stated that, hey, if you've gone, to a professional league, you can't come back and play for any SEC school, which I think is what's going to end up happening. I think the conferences themselves are going to start making those decisions. But what happens when you're a mid-major? Like, yeah, come on back, brother. Right?
When the SEC announced that LSU hardest hit.
Yeah.
LSU and Lane McKiffin hardest hit. LSU and Lane McKiffin. Ugh. When I saw that, Roger totally changed the subject, but whatever.
Whatever.
Hey, man. Nick Saban was right. Nick Saban was right, and everybody wanted to, nobody wanted to listen to him. Let me say, the NIL stuff will destroy college football
And basketball.
and basketball. It is going to destroy college sports. And Nick Saban was like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And that was one of the big reasons why he retired. And but allowing NFL players to come back to play at what are we doing? Wait, what are you doing?
Yeah, Roger's all pissed until LeGarrette Blount comes and plays for North Carolina next year. Because I'm sorry, go ahead, Josh. I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that's the only way Bill Belichick's going to win some games.
Well, I equate like LeGarrette Blount is retired. He's the guy. He played for Oregon. He was kind of a journeyman running back, but he was a beast. And when he played at New England, for Belichick, he was just amazing. He's retired. But if you could get that guy back into shape, what people don't realize is the talent, speed, power, and size gap between the NCAA and the NFL. And it pisses me off to no end. Alabama will have a really good team, or Georgia will. It's like, well, they could beat the Jaguars, Jacksonville Jaguars. No, they couldn't. And it wouldn't even be close. It would be 80-0 because that's how good they are. And LeGarrette Blount could come out of retirement, get in shape, and run the table in the NFL. And he'd win the Heisman, and people don't realize that. And that's why, even our coach, Texas Tech, was like, hey, we'd be open to taking pros if other people are. And it's like, that sucks, dude. I don't want to see that. It's weird. It changes the game to something I don't recognize, And if you want to call that ruining it, I guess it ruins it, but I'll still watch the games. I'll definitely watch Ennis Cantor, dunk on some women. I watch that.
Dude, the size of that guy. I know we brought it up last time.
God.
But when you watch that video, because he's like 7 feet tall or 6'11" or something like that.
6'9" or 10. His
wingspan's like
he's
7'2".
about the same height as Big Game James.
Hey, you know what? They should have let that girl go because she ran up on like she was gonna do something. Like,
yeah,
let her go. Let her go. Go on with her badass. And now he's been banned from the arena. And I know we're jumping around all over the place here. I mean,
that's
the
okay. People like it.
Yeah, they do, I guess. The nil thing is just going to ruin sports altogether. And not only are you ruining the sports, right now you're screwing around with the kids, right?
Yeah.
Because you had athletes like Seth Trimble that may have gone to a pro team somewhere, not necessarily the NBA, but may have gone to a pro team or whatever. Hey, you can come back for a 5th year. So then he's going to Louisville. Then no, maybe you can't now. So it's like, oh, so now am I just out of a job? And the other thing is like schools move on, right? You look at, and I bring Seth Trimble up, specifically because he's the one who hit the game-winning shot against Duke last year. Carolina Blue, his family played for Carolina, been there 4 years. Well, by the time the judges made their decision, Carolina's roster had to be set. College basketball starts in a month, right? So it's like, hey, you have to have your roster. You can't still be looking for players at this point in time. So then, they set their roster. Judge says, oh, you get a 5th year. Now you got a guy who wants to come back and play for college. Now he's got to go play somewhere else. And he ends up playing for a rival, whatever. But beyond that, it's just that you're jerking these kids around. I mean, they could be giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars in some professional league to take a shot to come back to college for another judge somewhere else to say, no, you're ineligible. I mean, it just makes no sense. It freaking kills me. On to the WNBA thing. And you said this yesterday, Luke, and I was, you're fucking kicking me in the nuts for it. I was just saying this conversation, but we can't have a conversation amongst us three because, there's a lot of news right now and a lot of media going on with the WNBA. And it's, you've always heard the term, there's no such thing as bad press or whatever. The problem with it is, at least from which you can pull from ratings, none of it's really leading to viewership. It's still the Caitlin Clark show and now Sophie Cunningham. So Indiana Fever, Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, it's their show. And so when you look at their ratings and their attendance for their games, they're up. They still pretty much suck across the league and they won't make any money, but it goes back to, it's like, man, this is such an easy problem to solve. Like the W stands for something. What does it stand for? I mean, they got a committee together of all these professionals and quote unquote experts to talk about the transgender issue. And they couldn't come away with the definition of a woman or any rules. Like, hey, only women can play. right? Like that's what the W stands for. If not, we would just have the NBA. You'd be in the NBA. It's such an easy problem to solve. And right now you've got the greatest player in the history of the WNBA. And how, who knows how much longer, she has in the league. I know she's, relatively young, but, genetics, right? Or not genetics, but, you look at male, female, it's, hey man, their athletic lifespan is much shorter, especially if she plans on having kids or a family or whatever that case is. I don't know what her outlook is, but it's like, you got maybe 5 to 7 years at, conservatively to strike the iron while it's hot. And so like, hey, here's how you get your viewership up. And instead they're doing everything they can, to prevent people from watching it, to piss people off. Because I tell you what, you let Enes Kanter into the WNBA, dude, I'm watching the game and I'm buying a ticket.
Yeah.
And it's become such
100%.
a joke that the green dildos are back now. Right?
That's hilarious.
There are people buying tickets to go to the games to throw dildos on the floor. And now I think there's a green dildo count. They're like, this is the 11th green dildo that's been thrown on the floor. And they try to blur it out like it's, so obscene. It's like,
did you see the post I made? They had the video of when that thing hit the floor and they're like panning around and they show both coaches. One coach is like, looks like he's all mad. And the other coach looks like, who did this? And I posted, it's like, if I was there, I don't know how those guys kept from cracking a smile. But then I went back and watched the video, and whoever was playing, I think it's the Washington coach, he is like doing his little constipated face. But the black dude behind him, assistant coach, he's got a smile so big.
You know what, though? They need to treat them like farm league baseball games. Truly. Have a good time. Make it family friendly. Hey, when you get the Caitlin Clarks and the Sophie Cunninghams, make it a big spectacle, make it a big deal, use it to expand the game. I don't know if they'll ever, become profitable, but again, make it like a farm league game where, hey, people like to go see that stuff. They have a good time. They bring their family out. It's inexpensive, but they don't take themselves seriously. So it's hard for anybody else to take what they do serious.
We said this. Go ahead.
Good.
Sorry. I said, we said this a long time ago that they're just too dumb to make it happen, because you had the perfect opportunity when Caitlin Clark came in the league. It was a year after Angel Reese, and they had the perfect opportunity to replay the 1980s Bird Magic thing. Get a shoe company come in there, whoever it is, Nike or whoever, come in there and make 2 distinct shoes. You've got Reese or Clark, and you make a commercial, and they get head to head and they play one-on-one, and one gets better than the other, and vice versa. And it's all in good fun, because Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were smart enough back then to know this is a good thing. And the teams were, and the advertisers were. But you know what? I won't lump Caitlin Clark, because I don't know how smart she is. I know she's really good. I think she just wants to play ball. So maybe she's a little dumber than Larry Bird. But Angel Reese, I can tell you, is absolutely too stupid to make that work. She's too stupid to make that work, because if it became like a Magic Bird type thing, maybe I would take an interest. And every time they played, I'd be like, oh, let's see these two go head to head.
Well, she's just not good enough. That's the problem.
Angel Reese, she sucks, and she sucks. You're right. She's not.
Yeah, that's the problem with that.
Josh, did you see the thing where she set the record? She got like the WNBA record for 27 rebounds. And I'm like, and so I thought, oh, I'm going to get on this quick. And I reposted it. I'm like, how many were missed shots? And then I went back to the original post and looked, and there were already all these comments. They beat me to the punch, because she probably rebounded 12 of her own missed shots.
I love it.
It's just insane, because you look at, and I have never watched a women's college basketball game until Caitlin Clark's senior year. When she was on the verge, a couple games up to becoming the all-time leading scorer for NCAA college basketball, men and women's. Right? I think there's a Division III player back in the day that scored more points, but I think Division I, men and women, became the leading scorer with almost 4,000 points. Like, dude, I watched those games, and then I was like, wow, she's actually got some skill. I mean, she's pretty damn good, and I could actually watch her play. But then you flip it to like the Angel Reese, is like, Jesus, dude. Yeah, she got 28 rebounds and 25 of them are off of her bricking them. You just can't watch it. You can't take it serious, man.
I am waiting for the lawsuits, and I hope the lawsuits
Oh,
from
yeah.
Freedom and everybody, and I hope they're epic, right? Because they're whole like all of a sudden now we know what a woman is.
Oh, it's gonna be the emails.
And no, yeah. Once it, dude, Discovery, the emails, once they go in and start pulling Microsoft Office 365, that's
I mean, think about it,
right
dude.
there.
Like what the emails between us three would be. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Oh,
This dude's got a
God.
dong.
Dude.
There ain't no right. That's the type of stuff. I guarantee that's the type of stuff that's in
100%.
those emails.
100%, dude. That Discovery is gonna be chef's kiss. That is just it's gonna be absolutely amazing. Because at the end of the day, it's like, no, man. The party line was forever. If I think I'm a woman, if I say I'm a woman, and who are you to deny my truth? Who are you to deny my truth, bigot? Hey, there you go. But the lawsuits, and it almost makes me think, like, did they know? They probably had an idea, like, they're not going to let us play, but let's go ahead and do this because now we can go to the
100%.
lawsuits. Because it was like the whole Elon buying X thing, right? Because when he started, he was like, there's so many bots on here. It's like, there's no bots. Okay, well, I'm not going to buy it anymore. Then it was like, no, you're going to buy it. And it's like, okay, well, now you got to disclose all these data points that you didn't want to disclose before. It's almost like, it's like, hey, man, you just called their bluff and now they got to play their hand. But the lawsuits are going to be legit.
What's the other guy's name? Because there's Ennis Cantor and
Royce
I
White.
can't. Royce White. So Royce White is actually, in my opinion, played it more intelligently than Ennis Cantor.
100%.
Freedom, because he's kind of playing into it, and it's genius. And like Josh said, it's like, did they know? Like, are they this intelligent? Because this whole situation is playing into how ridiculous the whole trans issue truly is, and how ridiculous the whole, an XY can play in an XX sport truly is. Because like Roger was saying, it's so simple to solve. It's so simple, and it's simpler than you think. It's a blood test. If you are XY or XYY, you cannot play. You can't. The only people that can play in this league are XX, but they're not even willing to say that. It's too simple. But I like Josh was saying, once the lawsuits start, they may be backed into a corner where it forces them. Only XX will play this game. Only XX. And here's one of the things that's been going around is and maybe there's something to this, maybe not, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's something to this. It's like the reason they're being so how they're being right now is because there's already men playing in the league a la Brittany Griner. Like they're already XY playing in the league. So it's like they're like, oof, maybe oof. Because there's another female that plays, and this female looks a lot like a male to me. And it's like maybe there are already males playing in the game. And there's like, they're in a tough spot. And they're in a tough spot because people are asking simple questions. Simple questions. Simple scenario. And turning their own bullshit against them. And it's Roger's got a hard stop in 45 minutes.
That's about our 2-hour time anyway.
Darren would be happy with that. I got a text from Darren. Okay, so we're at about an hour 8 minute mark. I got a text from Darren. It's like, you can't please people. We only have 6 listeners. Trying to please 6 people is very tough. It's like, you guys haven't recorded in like 2 months. So we're like, okay, we're gonna buckle down and we're gonna endeavor to persevere, and we're gonna try to record every 10 days. And then we do. And then Darren texts me and he's like, damn you, another one in a week, and it's 2 hours. What are you trying to do to me? It's like he's complaining like a woman. It's like, come on.
You know what, Darren?
Do you want
These
to
things actually, they stay in the cloud. You don't have to listen to them, unless YouTube takes them down. They generally stay in the cloud forever and you can kind of listen to them whenever you want to. You know, I get it. You know, not all episodes are evergreen, but I guarantee in 2 months, the WNBA still won't know what the W stands for. So you're probably pretty good with this one.
Well, I can say one thing. We got to give Darren this. All three of us have some nice edged weapons from Darren, and I for one, appreciate it.
That's a fact.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question though, real quick, and we can button up the WNBA thing. So let's say they can't come up with what the W stands for, and Ennis or Royce are able to enter the WNBA, which won't happen. But let's just say, for argument's sake, they do. Is there one team out there that would not draft them?
Go ahead, Josh.
I don't know.
I think they would all circle the wagons, and none of them would draft them.
Really?
I think they'd circle it. Yes, I think they'd circle
I'd
it.
draft that dude.
They don't make money anyway. They don't make money anyway.
But to Roger's point, they will start making money, because I'm telling you right now, dude, I have not watched one. The only WNBA like action I have seen is like video clips on social media platforms. That's it. You throw Royce White and Inez Cantor Freedom in there, I'm watching
so bad.
I'm buying a ticket. I'm watching it because, dude, Cantor and White, they're going to score 893 points a game.
It's going to be the Wilt Chamberlain 100.
Yes, dude. It's going to be, yeah. I'm watching it. They're going to make money. And I guarantee you, if the WNBA is like, fine, F it, whoever, bro, there's a team out there. It's like, well, you know what? Whatever. People can hate us all we want, but they can hate us while we win the championship.
Well, put it to you this way. Y'all are right. Partially, in my mind. Kind of. I still say they'll circle the wagons, and no team will draft them. But there will be emails to all those managers saying, you will not draft them. Like that team in Seattle with 2 lesbian owners.
Yeah, you can't do that, man. You get sued out of a oblivion.
That's what I'm saying. If they did enter the draft and didn't get drafted, there's going to be more lawsuits. And I go back to what we were saying. Did we talk about this already? Where it's like, you know, I enjoy in the Summer Olympics when they have the mixed relays. I think it's kind of fun to watch. You know, where you have a female run one leg, and then maybe the 2 females in a row, and then the 2 males got to come back from the deficit. Then let the males play. Let them play like a quarter and a half. And one of the reasons I like those mixed relays so much is because it truly highlights how slow the females are compared to the males. I mean, it just, you know.
But you know what? I can watch those because, like, with some women's sports are watchable and some aren't. Like women's soccer, you know, women's tennis. I mean, there's a certain amount of athleticism there. They would kick my ass. I'm pretty confident I could probably beat 75% of the women in the WNBA at this age. Pretty confident about that. I mean, you know, they've already talked about. You see what's his face, Clay Travis. I think he upped his, you know, upped his charity thing where I forget what the amount is now, but basically, hey man, he wants to take a state high school basketball, basketball championship team and play against any WNBA team. They'd crush them. Just like, didn't they do that with the women's soccer team like years ago?
Yeah,
played against a bunch of like 14-year-old boys and got
Dallas.
And they got
Dallas. Yeah.
And then Serena Williams, didn't she play against I don't know if it was college or high school boy and got, you know, destroyed by him as well.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing in women's sports to begin with. It's why you have women's sports, because of the physiological differences. If everybody was just good enough, if everybody was the same, then you wouldn't need the WNBA. You just have the NBA. And people would be good enough to play in that, or they wouldn't. And it's all a bunch of nonsense.
And purely aesthetic. And like Roger said, and I'm not bashing all women's sport. It's not like that. But from a purely aesthetic standpoint, purely aesthetics, women's gymnastics is better than men's. It truly is, in my opinion. It's all subjective. But women are far more on gymnastics. Men are all about power, and it's very impressive what they do. But it's all power. It's like it's cool, and I enjoy watching it. But the women, there's some grace there. There's some femininity. I mean, their floor routines look way better than the males, from my perspective. You know, maybe not everybody agrees with me, but Yeah, I disagree on the women's soccer. It's just, I don't know. I don't enjoy watching it. I don't enjoy watching soccer, period. But if I have to watch soccer, women's tennis, though, they're evenly matched. I get it. And yeah, that's Serena Williams, 6'1" and 6'2", number 203rd.
So
And
the guy was
Yeah.
ranked 203. He said he played like he was ranked 600, didn't even use his first serve because Serena would run around. We beat, men in the top 100 before. It's like, okay, well, now you get to play a guy who's ranked number 2 or 3. You got crushed. And then in 2017, the U.S. women's national team, right? So the best we got for the women's national team in soccer lost 5-2 to the Dallas Football Club under 15 boys.
Yeah.
Under 15 boys.
When did does it have when she played that guy? Because I want to say recently she's been pretty vocal about
98.
Men are better than women.
Yeah, 1998.
98. Yeah, I want to say that within the past few years, they've asked her and she's like, no, it's not even the same game. Their serves are coming, 40 miles an hour faster than any serve that a woman can do. It is what it is, man. I'm all
again.
for
Just lower the
sports,
rims in the NBA. Lower it down to 9 feet. That's a win. There's nothing saying, but see, it goes back to that. Well, it's got to be the same as men. No, it doesn't, because you're not men. Lower that bad boy down to 9. Dude, I want to see Caitlin Clark, Shaquille O'Neal, a basketball, right? And just dunk the hell out of it. Two-handed dunk. I want to see somebody dunk over somebody else. That's how you're going to make the game exciting.
It's so crazy that it goes back to what we were talking about, Roger and Josh. It's like, when we started this podcast, I think the WNBA existed, and we never mentioned it once until Caitlin Clark went into the WNBA. It's amazing to me that we're sitting here talking about this. We've been talking about it for almost 20 minutes now, or whatever, 15. But that doesn't translate to ratings, because even if Indiana was on tonight, I'm not going to go watch it. I'm not. But we're sitting here talking about it. So what is the marketing strategy behind that, if there is one? Is it to get people talking about it so that they'll post more about it, or maybe buy their daughter a Sophie Cunningham jersey if you're a MAGA person? I don't know. Like, if it doesn't translate to ratings, what are you doing?
Because when it goes to these advertising agencies, people are talking about it, right? So they must be watching it. And then, like you posted yesterday, not necessarily. I mean, there are certain teams that they're watching, certain players, but the WNBA as a whole, maybe a slight uptick, but nothing to even justify the salaries they have. So yeah, they just say, oh, everybody's talking about it. So it's like, hey, now they've got some bargaining chips, to go with these companies to sponsor them and this and that. But hey, does that actually turn into viewers? Not really.
And you look at the WNBA, it's so gay anyway, because like all the team names are like, not like, you look at the LA Lakers, for instance. How many people know why they're called the LA Lakers? Well, it's because they were originally in Minnesota, land of 1,000 lakes, and they were called the Lakers. That's a cool name. The Boston Celtics, you got a big Irish population, like
Utah Jazz.
Utah Jazz. There's always a story behind the names, but then you got the Chicago Sky. Well, last I checked, every city in the world has a sky. It's like, why? These names are dumb.
Is that their name, Chicago Sky? No.
I think so. One of the team's name is called the Sky. Okay, well, Fever. Okay. Is Chicago known for fevers? I would have thought that would be New Orleans.
No, you're right. Chicago Sky. No shit.
Well, there is a Fever too, I think. And then Indiana.
Ooh, here's a good one. Valkyries. Who's that?
Oh, that's
the Golden State Valkyries. That's cool.
Oh, but I never heard of them. I didn't even know that existed.
I didn't either.
But it's kind of cool. It's like, but the Valkyries should be like up in the Midwest, like in the Minnesota or Wisconsin or something, where it got all the Viking population up there. Like the Minnesota Vikings. Ugh. Hey, Josh, what about that? Josh, what about that guy? That he's a rookie on the Cowboys, and he's a full-blooded Navajo Indian.
Oh my Lord!
Playing on the Cowboys.
I love it, right? I love the irony that he's playing for the Cowboys. I mean, if you can't beat them, join them. But like, I feel like, I definitely feel like if the Redskins were still around, he would need to be playing for the Redskins. Or, since they're not, I think the Chiefs, I think Kansas City missed a big opportunity there, man. I really think they missed a boat on not grabbing him up. That could have been greatness.
Where's the outrage?
It would have been
though?
awesome.
I mean,
What's
the
that?
Washington Commanders changed their name from the Redskins because apparently so many Native Americans were angry at the name and having the face on the helmet. So then you take a real life Native American and he goes play for the Cowboys and everybody's good with that? Dude, you can't make this stuff up, dude. What did you say? Would you post, Luke? You were like the Matrix 2016 Matrix.
Yes, we're living in a simulation. They have not updated the simulation, and the simulation is starting to break a little bit.
There's just too much. There's too much. There's way too much going on.
Hey,
and it wasn't,
price.
Yeah. And it's funny because, the people who were offended at the Washington Redskins name wasn't Native Americans. It was leftist white women. That too was offended at the Washington Redskins name because every year it happens like clockwork. Tallahassee, Florida, first game of the year, you've got a couple protesters out there protesting the Florida State Seminoles name. And who are they? They are all leftist white women between the ages of 40 and 70. And then they have their cuck husbands out there, holding their signs and stuff for them. And every year, the Seminole tribe of Florida has to come out and tell those idiots, you shut your pie hole because it's us and we ain't offended by it. A large part of that is because Florida State University is writing them a big ass check. But hey, at the same time, it's like, dude, if the people they're, representing is not offended, why are you? But it's just people just feel the need to be offended about something.
You would think all the ranchers and the 4-6s true cowboys and the King Ranch true cowboys would be pissed off that there's a team that sucks so bad named after them.
I thought you were going a completely different direction with that.
Oh, what direction did you think?
I thought you were going to be like, they should be pissed off that there's a team
called
the Cowboys that have a Navajo player.
No.
Well, I guess he's not Comanche. I mean, maybe if he was Comanche, they'd be a little more upset.
It's ridiculous, man. Everything, like they say, everything is gay and retarded. But what I'm worried about is all this woke stuff coming back, like what we started out the episode with. All these commercials. They're trying to cancel Texas Roadhouse and Logan's Roadhouse. They're canceling Callaway golf clubs. All this stuff, and I listen to Tim Pool. Tim Pool's got his act together lately. I enjoy listening to him. Ben Shapiro's a little bit too much on the Israel stuff for me. It's like, it's too much for me. It's too much. But what everyone's worried about, and Tim Pool's worried about, is like you're starting to see these woke rumblings again because people are getting more bold because the midterms are coming up and DSA is on the rise in Democratic Socialists of America. And as Roger just put, and I found this interesting. I think I saw this last night on Gutfeld when I was watching my, daily dose of propaganda, that AOC was doing the DSA thing, and Rogers just said she renewed her DSA membership after a 7-year lapse. So she has definitely taken her side at this point. They can denounce Hassan Piker all they want, all she wants, but she's taken her side. There is definitely a power struggle within the Democrat Party. And I watched James Carville, from a bed. Or last night, as I'm watching him, he's doing his little screed and he's talking like an old man. There's a bunch of alcohol over in the corner, his little bar. And I'm like, dude, bro, it's all about the economy, stupid. It was really great in 1991 and 92. But the fact is, you're a boomer that's about to die. So I don't know. I'm just saying this civil war or whatever I'm saying within the Democrat Party may win us the midterms, but I'm going to let Roger make his point that he put in the text earlier. Do you think that that's what the DNC wants, is to win the midterms?
Well, I mean, you said it. I mean, they'll take the win if they can get it, right? I mean, it was the same thing with throwing Kamala out there. Everybody knew, like, hey, she wasn't the best candidate, but you know what? Hey, if she happens to win, hey, they'll take the win. It's as a party, Hakeem and Chuck have to be like, yeah, man, we big tent and we bring everybody in and whatever. I don't agree with all their policies. It's like, I actually don't agree with about 99.9% of their policies. They act like it's one or two things, right? I don't agree with everything in the Democrat policy. Yeah, dude, it's not just one or two things that you don't agree with. It's the majority of that stuff, and the fact that it's like blatantly goes against everything in our Constitution and what we stand for as a country. So I think personally, though, there's a piece there and in our circles where they're like, hey, let these folks run. There's some grassroots money that's coming in, right? A lot of money's going to come in, and they're hurting for money after Kamala spent her, what was it? Was it $1 billion or $2 billion? I forget what it was, 1 or 2, but there's $1 billion, right? So they're in the hole. They need the money. They're getting the grassroots funds. It's no different than Bernie. They used Bernie to get that money and that fundraising, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, do we really want the DSA candidates to win? Because if too many DSA candidates win, it's going to hold them hostage. And I'll tell you this right now. I mean, they're giving Hakeem flack for meeting with one of Trump's cabinet or a son-in-law, right? They're giving him shit. Hakeem and Chuck are going to be out of a job. So I think on a personal level, it's like, well, you know what? We'll take the grassroots money, the funding. We'll take the base and everybody being fired up and this and that. But, secretly hoping that they lose so they keep their jobs because they're going to get run out of town. Yeah, I actually saw the interview with El Said and Jesse Waters. And that's the thing, right? It's man, he literally compared being circumcised to chopping somebody's dong off that some 6-year-old that wants to, transition. Well, I'll tell you this, there are no such thing as transgender kids. What that's called is child abuse. Okay, 100%. There's no way to dice that. Now, hey, you're 18 years old, you're an adult, and you want to go do whatever. I couldn't care less, right? Of course, but that's called transphobic now. Like to say, hey, when you become an adult, you can go do whatever it is that you can't go get a tattoo when you're 14, but you can go cut your dong off. No, it doesn't make sense. And the fact that El Said was sitting there trying to, and he said, you don't want to go down that road with me. One, you're not even a licensed medical doctor. He graduated school, never practiced. He's not licensed. But the fact is that that's how they see this. They see circumcision as the same thing as cutting a young boy's dong off because at 6 years old, he thinks he's a girl or wears a dress or whatever the case is. That's the type of mentality that you're dealing with, but I think that the Democrats are going to use them. They're going to use them for that fundraising. They're going to use them for the anti-Trump. And what worries me with all of this is, and I know we have a good bench right now, but the odds are always against the GOP candidate on the national level when you look at the president, just the way the breakdown is. And what worries me is if in 2028 there's a Democrat president. I mean, look at I don't think she'll run, but look as if a Kamala wins or a Gavin Newsom or a Shapiro. There's going to be this big push to go back woke again. I mean, you already heard. Now they're admitting, well, woke 1 was a little crazy. Well, yeah, no shit. You think? Now we're into woke 2. The whiplash effect that we're gonna go through if there's a Democrat president elected in 2028, it's gonna be 10 times worse than what it was, because now it's almost like reparations for what we went through with the Trump years. You can't just go woke; you're gonna have to go woke times 10, and I think it's gonna be worse. Now hopefully, like we talk about the rubber band, hopefully that it'll be hard enough that most of us that are in the middle and you kind of fire up some of the base and you get more moderates. Because that's what's happened is the left has moved so far to the left that moderate left is now center or center right. So our side of the line there's a lot bigger, and you just hope that if that does happen, that more and more people push to the right, or at least towards the the other side of this. And this is Josh's thing, is GOP is going to screw it up anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
I think they're going to use the DSA candidates, like Roger said, for their fundraising. But I think that the old guard right? And you cannot dismiss Hillary, you cannot dismiss Barack, you cannot dismiss the others that are pulling the strings behind the scenes. They're going to Eric Swalwell the ones that they don't like and the ones that be like, we can't have this person in charge. We can't have Al Said in charge, right? Like they know that. They 100% know that. When he came out was being, I mean, just straight up anti-Semitic. It's like, okay, that's probably not going to help in any level of election. And so they'll use it for the fundraising, get on, say talk your craziness. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, they're going to Eric Swalwell them, whoever needs to be done. And that's going to be that. I say that, but I'll caveat it with that's probably good for 2028 election cycle. Might be good for 2032. After that, it's anybody's ball game. But I still think there's enough of the old guard left that is still influential enough in calling the shots that Hassan Piker, Said, all these cats, they are not going to. AOC is not going to win the presidency in 2028. I feel safe enough to make that bet right now and to call that. She is not going to win. I'm not saying a Republican's going to win, but she ain't going to be it. Right? So, because again, it goes back to the swing states. AOC is not going to win Florida.
Aren't they about to have a Democrat governor?
They are about to have a Democratic governor because God, dude, Jay Collins should have been the GOP nominee. Byron Donalds is a clown. Byron Donalds is a straight clown. Jay Collins should have been the GOP nominee. North Carolina, we're about to get, a Democratic senator to the U.S. Senate because Roy Cooper is going to win here. But dude, AOC is not winning the 2028 presidential election, and none of the DSA candidates.
If things are how they are now, right? Because a couple things. I texted you guys, and Josh had been in bed for 4 hours, but he probably read it the next morning, or maybe not. Just before he texts bitches. Whoever's the first up in the morning has got to put in the text thread bitches. And it's always Josh. It's almost always Josh. 98% of the time. But I honestly think Jesse Waters was a little bit too excited in that exchange because he did not handle it well, in my opinion. Because the circumcised thing was the easiest thing in the world. It's like, Jesse, are you circumcised? and he tried to equate it to, gender affirming care. And it would be too easy in that moment. Because I thought in the moment, and I already had like 5 beers at that point. In the moment, I was like, he's got it. Because that is the parent's choice at that point to get circumcised or not. That is the parent's choice, whether right or wrong, whether they agree with it or not, it's the parent's choice. But the gender affirming care is saying it's not the parent's choice, it's the child's choice. It's like that's too easy. It was too easy. But the AOC thing, boy, I mean, I agree with you as things stand right now. She won't win the primary. They're going to put somebody else in there who's a little bit more electable, right? But she is playing a pretty good game right now, or she's trying to. She's trying to. Yeah, you're right. Life altering. Yeah, circumcision is not life altering unless they screw up like they did with Rogers and cut the whole thing off. No, I'm joking. Joking. HIPAA. Sorry, Roger. But they'll probably put somebody else. But what if, I got a couple points. What if the economy completely tanks? What if it completely tanks and everything goes bad? And then all of a sudden it's like, man, these Republicans, look what they've done. Let's say we win the midterms. Look what they've done. We're screwed. This is Great Depression too. I could see them electing a straight up DSA Marxist. At the other hand, and maybe Roger could take this, but I'd like to kick it to Josh. They better get the economy back on track because things don't look good right now. They really don't. And it's like, if there is trust the plan thing, when is that trust the plan moment? Because right now, if I trust the plan, which I want to, okay, something's got to start happening. And Radcliffe and Russia, everything on the news is saying, which I don't trust it, but it's saying, oh, he was there to warn them, don't attack a NATO country. Bitch, they already know that. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
don't
mean
buy
to bring
that
up
for a
another.
second.
I don't either, but it's like something better start happening. Something better start happening and quick. Because Roger, honestly, I'm starting to agree with Josh, and it's not about gas. It's about my trip to United Supermarket today to buy lunch instead of going to Chick-fil-A or wherever I was going to go. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick up some ready-made steak tips and some of those little salamis wrapped in mozzarella and some sunflower seeds. I picked up those 3 things. It was $20. And I'm like, come on. When I notice a price difference, it's like, well, I could have paid less than this at freaking Taco Villa. It's little things like that. It's the economy's stupid. I know I was bagging on or Carville, but he's right. It's like, it's going to start hitting the swing voters. Whatever. I said my piece. It's like the economy better get on track, or we're going to have some pretty radical stuff coming down the pipe. That's my thing. James
and I think
Tallarico.
it gets more. You have to be more specific because the economy as a whole is generally in an upswing. It's exactly what Josh just typed. Well,
Is
yeah,
it though?
I think
What's the
GDP
GDP?
numbers they are?
What's the GDP right now? The GDP
Annualized
versus
quarter two is
inflation.
1.5.
And what's the inflation?
Consumer spending's 3.4. Business investment 8.5.
That cancels out.
These are all
That
positive.
1.5.
Nobody. I'm going to tell you right now, Joe Sixpack does not give a shit about the GDP when all he sees is gas and groceries.
So again, going back to my original point before you jumped in, that was my point. Is you talk about the broader economy, and it's not the broader economy. It's how much they're paying at the pump and what they're paying for groceries, right? Unemployment can be at 2%. GDP can be at 4%. Corporate profits can be up. Business investments can be up 40%. If gas isn't affordable and groceries aren't affordable, that's what most people at home consider the economy, right? Because that's what hits them in their pocketbook. So, and I think we've stated that from the beginning. It's like, hey man, you can have every other number right, but if people are paying $4 or $5 at the pump for a gallon of gas over an extended period of time, if people are paying more, for their groceries over an extended period of time, you've got to get that stuff fixed, because that's, hey man, when it costs them twice as much to drive to the voter poll to go vote against you, that's a problem, right? And that's something that the GOP is going to struggle with. And I think when you look at the GOP candidates, they're really going to have to take those elections and make them very, very local, right? You're going to have to make it a local centered election, because prices aren't going to get fixed. The price of gas is not going to fix, between now and the midterms. One, it's already priced too high from where crude oil is anyway.
Beef too, by the way.
Yeah, no,
Beef
absolutely.
too.
But see, and here's the problem. And, I don't want to get too sidetracked with it, because, you guys are spot on, and Josh's statement is spot on. But here's the problem that they run into. So what does Trump say today? He says, okay, I want to import more beef, because I'm going to drive, prices down, right? Because you look at the reality of it, meat and gas, that's what you got to get low. So he wants to import more beef. And what are the Texas ranchers doing? They're fighting back, right? Because what's it going to do to the overall market? And so it's like, man, you're just running into, like, you can't win regardless of what you're doing. That's why the number one thing is obviously fuel, gas, oil, crude oil. You got to bring that stuff down. That's going to affect everything. Okay. That's going to affect the entire market. But the food itself, it's like, hey man, you're running into parts where it's like, hey, not everybody wants to bring those prices down, but the guy sitting at home, the wife sitting at home, the economy to them is what they pay at the pump and what they pay at the Fry's grocery store. And you got to get it fixed. And it's not going to get fixed by the midterms. So, if you're a GOP candidate, you really got to try to localize that thing and run against the Democrat candidate. But I don't disagree with you either, Luke, your broader statement. you see some of these places, like you see your New Yorks and your Seattles and where these DSA candidates are winning. It's like, yeah, man, you are a, possibly a 2008 away from having a lot of DSA candidates on that national ballot, right? On that national level ballot. And I don't think we're that far removed. It's actually hard to believe that some of these places that have elected so many or, have voted for as many DSA candidates as they've had. But yeah, you were probably another 2008 away from having, having them have more control of our government.
And we didn't even touch on like the housing market, right? You got younger voters coming up, boomers dying off. The housing market, and I've seen some reports, it's like, and there's some validity to it, but it's not the reason. Oh, well, the reason is because of all the immigrants. The housing prices are so high. Bro, the immigrants are not the reason that half the houses in this neighborhood are valued 200 or 300,000 more than they should be. That's not because of immigrants. I don't care what anybody says. The system's kind of broken. And again, younger voters, and they're being filled at TikTok every single day with the system's broken. You can't afford a house. You can't have the American dream. You just got to figure all these things in and whatever. And the beef thing, and I'll kick it to Josh. Sorry. The beef thing doesn't make any sense. I dug into the numbers a little bit today, believe it or not, because whatever, I won't even go into that. I dug into the numbers a little bit today. It makes no sense why the prices are so high right now. So high. It makes sense why they're higher, but not as high as they are now. Yes, the herd is dwindling, and we imported a bunch. It doesn't explain why a pound of beef in some places like North Carolina is $6.50. It makes no sense. Something else is going on. And it's like, is this supposed to, a lot of it is the processing, but who knows? There's something weird going on. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Sorry, I've been talking too much. Go ahead, Josh.
No, you're spot on the beef. And in fact, I'm going to ping Brandon, who we had on a while back, farmers from Kansas. So he's obviously, deeply involved in the beef industry and figure out part of the problem is the Biden administration destroyed a bunch of herds. Right. So that's, we even talked about that a couple of years ago. They destroyed a bunch of herds. And then two, a lot of the big companies have pushed out the mom and pop beef processors. So, right. So being able to get your beef processed nearby at a mom and pop place, that's not the case anymore. Now, a lot of farmers have to ship them off to these big company plants. Well, that costs money, right? How much does it cost me to ship my cattle? Well, how much does diesel cost? How much does, how much coal does that train, how much am I paying in fuel, to get these cattle from point A to point B to get slaughtered, right? And again, everything goes back to gas, right? Goods, services, everything. If the air conditioning guy has to drive, 30 miles to my house, well, he's got to charge me for the gas it takes. If gas is $4 a gallon, well, guess what? That service call is now more expensive. Everything goes back to gas. And whatever it is that Trump and team are doing in the Strait of Hormuz with Iran, they need to figure it out. They have to figure it out. And they need to figure it out quick. And I'm not talking about the midterms are a wash. The midterms are what the midterms are going to be. There is not going to be any significant change. There's not going to be any change, significant enough, rather, I should say, between now and the midterms that are going to swing people the other way. There's just not. It would have to be something very, very significant to sway voters at this point. So the midterms are a wash.
I think that goes to candidates.
Now you got to worry
it goes
about
back to the local piece.
Yeah, you can't even do it. I don't even think you could do it at the local piece, because at the end of the day, the people who there's you have your undecideds. Even the people who are like, you know what, I'm just not going to vote. They're just going to sit it out, and I guarantee you, there's going to be more on the right that sit it out than more on the left that do, because the left is committed. You got to fix it. Trump, they have to fix the gas. They got to figure this Iran shit out. Because right now, 2028, if the general election were held today, the GOP would lose and we would have a Democratic president. That's a fact.
If the ideal candidates were head to head, the ideal on both sides were head to head, I agree with you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just talking about gas. It's $3.79 where I live. It's $4.70 where Roger is. Did you see the gas? Did you drive by a gas station today, Josh?
Yeah, it's $3.69 here.
It's cheaper there than here. What? Maybe I just wasn't paying attention today. It's usually cheaper here than where y'all are. Dang. You know, here's the thing. Roger, how much time do you have? Hold 5 minutes? You have 5 minutes? So, you know, Roger, in typical fashion, no, I'm joking. But we were talking about Tim Curry earlier, and I feel like we have to talk about Dolly Parton. I feel like we should probably dedicate, after all the stuff we talked about in this episode, we should probably talk about her a little. Of course, last night, my wife and I honestly wanted to watch, you know, the A&E Dolly Parton biography, and then we watched a special, then we watched another special, and they all pretty much told the same story about, you know, a woman who came from nothing, who had talent, a true artist. She's one of those ones who couldn't even read music, but she could make it. She didn't have that great of an education, but she could write poetry. I didn't realize she wrote the song Jolene in like half hour. And then she wrote 9 to 5 while she was filming the movie 9 to 5. And, you know, and she was rubbing her fingernails together, her fake nails. And she said, "Oh, that sounds like a typewriter. Oh, let me make a song about this." And she wrote a whole song in the course of like 3 days. And there were like 40 verses of that song that she wrote, and they only ended up using 3 of them. It's like the woman was a savant. Like, she was truly amazing. And she was so based and so down to earth. And she had no problem. I watched a video of her with Johnny Carson. This is back in the 80s. And Johnny asked her very politely back in the 80s about her boobs. And she's like, "They're mine. Oh, yeah, I paid for them." And it's like she came out and told everybody, "This is who I am." You know, you know, she made so many jokes about her own boobs and everything. She put it out there, man. She was a great American. And I've seen some bullshit, you know, troll stuff on X about people slamming her and all this stuff, or the communists saying, "Oh, 9 to 5 was a communist creed." No, everybody loved her. She united everyone on both sides. Like, you know, and that's gone now. And, you know, we really lost something there. And I normally, for a star, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, flags half staff for a day." Okay. You know, if they made a significant cultural impact, but, you know, Trump and the federal government came out and said, "We're going to keep flags half staff for a whole week." And I'm okay with that, because I truly believe we lost something with her. Like, she was a truly amazing cultural icon, you know, and there aren't many of those.
Yeah, just when you look at her, and I didn't know this, I heard it on Fox News and had to go Google it, but 11 Grammys, a Primetime Emmy, 2 nominations for Academy Awards, 6 Golden Globe Awards, and a Tony Award. Dude, she, when you look at the entertainment industry, she was the Michael Jordan of the entertainment industry, not just because of her accolades, but early on. And they, you know, they've been playing clips, right, from her, you know, just throughout her years. And it's like, hey, don't get political, right? Republicans buy shoes too. Don't get political, because you're going to take half your fan base and you're going to dump them and you're going to throw them away. The other thing that you look about it is her private life was very private. I'd never even like seen her husband before. I think the only pictures I've seen of her husband is early on. And I think he died like a year ago or something like that, maybe 2 years ago or something, but kept her private life private. But man, no scandals that I can think of. To have a career like that, with all the accolades, as much as she's done for the years that she's done it, right? You know, at least I don't remember. Maybe I was too young back in her heyday or whatever, but I never remember hearing anything bad from either other people, actors, singers, actresses, just, you know, the tabloids, the National Enquirer. I never remember any scandal around her, and everything that you hear about her was like whatever you know about her and how nice she was and this and that, multiply it times 10. And that's how she was. You know, I think James Woods was on there the other night and he was talking about it and he was just like, you can't even fathom the type of person she was. So, I mean, outside of her personal life, which I don't know a lot about, but when you look at just her overall, overall accomplishments, the no scandals, what she's done to our entertainment industry. I mean, it's pretty incredible, and from all accounts, probably one of the best all around people that you could, ever know.
Well, Josh said close out, so I guess I will. Roger muted. So yeah, I mean, the only yeah, exactly, man. See the pants. Based, after a thorough analysis, the C3 podcast has determined we're so much better without a plan. So the only scandal I can remember before we close out, and it wasn't even a scandal, was remember when she and Kenny Rogers recorded Islands in the Stream? And then there was the whole thing about, she and Kenny Rogers, that was never a thing. But she never pushed back against it because she wanted to sell more albums. She knew the business she was in, and she played it like a pro. I mean, I got nothing but respect for her, like classy lady. And sorry she's gone, and who's going to be the next one? But anyway, until next time, we'll see you guys. We'll maybe record sometime soon. Sorry we went so long, Darren. But until then, keep your canteen cups full and tightly secured.
And for a little post piece here, go ahead. And who'd you say was going to be next? For those that actually listen to the end, we're going to put it on the game tape. Who'd you say was going to be next?
I didn't say. I said, who knows?
You put it in our text this morning.
Oh, shit. I don't remember, man. That was this morning. What did I say?
Clint Eastwood.
Oh, next to die. I thought,
God
no,
bless.
I just said, dude, you got to close out on that.
Don't put that out in the universe.
I'm just preparing everybody. He's 96 years old or however old he is. I just can't take that.
I'm going to say Bruce Willis.
Oh, yeah. He's in rough shape too, man.
Yeah, he's in really bad shape.
Yeah.
Hey.
So for those that made it this far, keep your canteen cups full and tightly secured.
Peace.